Good. Hello, everybody, because this program is going to be re-airing several times. I got to remember to stop being very specific about the time of day, because you may be seeing it for the first time at a time other than when I have actually recorded it. I've got a very, very packed list of things to deal with you on, and I may not even be able to get to all of them because I've got to end early because I've got another interview that's coming up at precisely 9 a.m. and I've got to end early to give myself a little bit of time for transition because I'm coming to you right now live. Right out of the box, let me say I want to thank all of you for your support. I just spent several days in Iowa. I finally made it to the state fair. I did get an interview by Abby Hornacek. Abby Hornacek. I don't think Fox aired it, but she did interview me. So I guess it was up to the network whether they aired it or not, but I haven't heard anything about it airing. Wish we had recorded it ourselves so that we could play it for you so that you could see the interview and see that they did in fact interview me. But here's what I want to say first. My visit to Iowa convinced me that I can do very, very well in Iowa and maybe even win it. Maybe even win it. It's going to take a lot of hard work. I did not find, and I'm not finding, excuse me, folks, I'm using my voice a lot. I am not finding this widespread level of support for any other candidate that I expected to find. You know, of course, who I'm referring to, which is Donald Trump. Oh, of course, he's got his support out there. There's no question about that. But I kind of expected to find kind of an overwhelming wall of support for him. Folks, I don't think I'm exaggerating to say I probably personally dialed 700, 800 people. It's got to be approaching 1,000. Do I run into Trump supporters? Yes. Is that an overwhelming experience? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know, the data shows 62% of Republicans are either persuadable or downright just don't want President Trump as the nominee. That means there's room for another candidate to step in. Now, of course, we know the debates are coming up tomorrow, right? And I'm not going to be on this first stage. Only 8 of the 14 candidates are. That means 6 of us will not. So let me say a couple things about that. Well, first, let me back up. My trip to Iowa. I was there when Perry spoke. I don't even know the guy's first name. But I was there when he spoke. I was there when William Hurd spoke. As far as I am concerned, neither one of them is qualified or understands the issue sufficiently to be president of the United States. So let me tell you what happened. I confronted them both afterwards. Went up and asked them questions, told them I'm a candidate too. I'm running. And I think both of them were aware of that. So they didn't, oh, really? I didn't. It was more like, So they were aware of me. Because I'm convinced that the mainstream media is aware of me. But they are intentionally ignoring me. I'll get to that in a moment. So after Will Hurd spoke, I came to this conclusion, folks. And you know, when I run, I don't want to go on the attack against people because I love people. And all these candidates, I'm sure they are decent people. I'm sure that they all have something to offer in life. And so I'm not interested in destroying people. But I'm realizing something. I love my country, and there's certain people who I really would not want to see leading it. And I have to say that. I have to point that out, or I'm being dishonest. I'm not one of these people, well, whatever any Republican will do, or any Republican will be better than any Democrat. Well, maybe, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, and I voted for Mitt Romney. I've regretted it, because I'm not so sure that Mitt Romney would have been better than Barack Obama, frankly. So I confronted first Perry, who got up and talked about the country and talked about mainly money and budget. That was his main thing, money. I'm a businessman. I'm going to cut the budget. I'm going to do the, you know, and again, see, to me, that's like shifting the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. You got a country that is culturally imploding, but you're going to get the budget straight. Now, look, nothing wrong with getting the budget straight. And I think all of you know, I believe very strongly that government's got to be reined in. It's spending too much. It's trying to do too much. It is exceeding its constitutional boundaries. I believe that, absolutely, and would act on that as president. But if we don't get the cultural and spiritual condition of our country set straight, we're headed for the iceberg. We're not going to save ourselves by saying, well, you know what, the country went down, but I tell you what, it had a balanced budget when it went down. I mean, folks, realize this young lady speaking at a library out in California had the librarian interrupt her speech and demand that she stop speaking because she was misgendering people. Now, this was a government official, right? This is a public library. This person works for the state. A government official telling a private citizen in a public forum, you may no longer speak because the things that you are saying are not acceptable to me. And I will be the commissar of speech here and tell you, you must shut up. I mean, folks, that's a totalitarian state. That's tyranny. That's not liberty. That's not freedom. Frankly, it's not even constitutional. Misgendering. You're misgendering. Because she was, by the way, you know what this guy, I guess he's a guy, called misgendering? She was using the term biological male and biological female. And this guy said, that's misgendering because even the law of California recognizes that a transgender woman is a woman or a transgender man is whatever. I mean, because I get it, this stuff is impossible to really follow. So you have a balanced budget, but no freedom of speech. A balanced budget, but no freedom of religion. A balanced budget, but no Second Amendment. No freedom, the right to keep and bear arms. A balanced budget, but the criminal justice system is used to persecute, not prosecute, but persecute conservatives and Christians and people with traditional moral views and punish those people and then reward people who, for whatever reason, fall on the right side of the political spectrum. That's not freedom. That's communism. But as long as you're doing it with a balanced budget, all is well. I mean, it's preposterous. But anyway, here's what I confronted him on. So he talks about freedom. He said, you know, we have, our country was founded on freedom. And you know, then he went on to talk about freedom. He quoted the Declaration of Independence. One problem. Just like Democrats, he never mentioned the Creator. He never mentioned God. And so at the end of his discussion, I met him and talked to him. I said, you know, I want to point something out to you that you may or may not be aware of. I said, but in that whole discussion about freedom, you failed to acknowledge that our founding fathers said that our liberty, our rights, are endowed by our Creator. I said, it's just not freedom that's given by grant of man or grant of government. It's freedom endowed by our Creator. That they said that's where our liberty comes from. It does not come from man. It does not come from a king. It comes from Almighty God. And folks, he started to sweat. And I'm not kidding. Of course, it was hot out there, but he started to sweat and kind of fumbled and stumbled. And finally, I'm a Catholic, and yes, Jesus Christ is very important in my life. But you could tell it was a Band-Aid trying to respond to what he knew was a legitimate critique of his remarks and something he had left out, probably because it's just not important to him. Then I confronted William Hurd. And as far as I'm concerned, William Hurd is a liberal. William Hurd is a liberal, folks. William Hurd is not conservative. There's no way he or Perry can win the nomination. Now, here's what I want to say in the 10 minutes or so, maybe 15 I've got left. whenever I was heard, whenever I had an opportunity to be heard, people gravitated to me. And it's not because I'm rich and good looking. So, it's because I was saying the things that are on their hearts. My staff overheard a couple talking. I had on a patriotic shirt. I've worn it for the program from time to time. I got a little criticism for it, but you know, it didn't look maybe as presidential as I should have looked. But I figured it was a fair, fun deal. Patriotic shirt. These colors don't run. I mean, yeah. But at any rate, the couple didn't like this. One of the woman in this married couple didn't particularly like my shirt. Didn't feel it was, you know, quite appropriate for for the office I was seeking. So I'll take that under. But then said, but I sure like what he had to say. I'd vote for him. I really like what he. And folks, I had people come up to me afterwards. Oh yes, you're E.W. Jackson. I heard you on the radio. There is a following out there. And being in Iowa just absolutely confirmed it for me. Okay. Oh, and by the way, oh man, preached the Cornerstone World Outreach Church. Pastor Kerry Gordon, great church, great group of people. Had a wonderful time. They treated me so well. And I had people come after me one after another, come up to me one, I will vote for you. I will vote for you. I will cast my, in other words, I will support you in the caucuses because that's what's coming up on January the 15th. Convinced me I'm on the right track. I met with several officials, and when they listened to what I had to say, every single one of them said, hey, look, I'm in agreement with you. When their advice was in Iowa, be yourself. Well, I didn't say this to them, but I can say it to you. They don't know. I don't know how to do anything else, and I'm not about to do anything else. I'm not about to weasel and bob and weave and try to avoid what my convictions are. I'm just not doing that. I'm just not doing it. Now, I may word things differently depending on who my audience is and where I think they are to bring them to where they need to be, but I'm not changing my convictions. And they all walked away saying, man, you know, I'll support, many, I'll support you. So it convinced me the support is there, but here's what I want to say to you. And if you don't remember anything from this morning's discussion, please remember this. The media is trying to kill my candidacy. Let me say that again so that there's no misunderstanding. The media is trying to kill my candidacy. In fact, think of it this way. I'm mini Trump. In other words, and by the way, when I say I'm mini Trump, I mean, I don't have the name recognition Trump has. I certainly don't have the money Trump has. But I strike just as much terror in the hearts of those who know me as Donald Trump does. He's within striking distance of the presidency. They don't see me that way, but they don't want me anywhere near within striking distance of the presidency either, because they know exactly which direction I would lead this nation. So that's number one. If you don't remember this, the media is trying to kill my candidacy, which means that they're trying to rob you of the option of supporting me. Now that's what this is all about. They're trying to rob the American people of options that they don't want the American people to have. And sadly, this includes some conservative media as well. Sadly, it does. I mean, so for example, you heard about the flap over Vivek Ramaswamy's remarks about Israel. Well, look, the reason why Vivek Ramaswamy doesn't understand our relationship to Israel is Vivek Ramaswamy is not a Christian. He does not come from a Judeo-Christian perspective. He does not understand our spiritual responsibility to Israel. And he'll probably now pretend that he does because, of course, he realizes he touched the third rail, particularly among evangelicals. So he'll start to pretend that he does, but he doesn't. It's not at his core. And what he said first is what he really thinks and what he really believes. You can't believe what the cleanup says because the cleanup is an attempt, I mean, just like he put out a statement, 10 truths, and the first one is God is real. Well, what does that mean from a Hindu? I mean, the God we serve, like the other 4,999 gods Hinduism serves, is real too? I mean, and yet, Fox has been pushing him. Everybody's been pushing him. Okay? And he comes from an antithetical perspective of what we as Christians believe. Eating meat is sinful. Because after all, animals are gods, right? I mean, folks, no. And Larry Elder, and I know Larry Elder. I mean, I don't know him well. I've met him. I respect the guy as a talk show host. But Larry Elder supports same-sex marriage. Larry Elder supports gay adoption. I oppose both of those. Folks, let me say this so that no one misunderstands. So this is the second thing. If you don't remember anything else, so the first is the media is trying to kill my candidacy. I need you to help make sure that doesn't happen. And of course, our prayers before God to stop them, to cause them to fall into their own pit. Because I guarantee you, when they are forced to acknowledge my candidacy, they're not going to apologize. They'll say, oh, well, yeah, we're sorry. Because it is strictly biased. It is strictly subjective. There's no cutoff line. Oh, well, you don't qualify because. There's no cutoff line. There's no, oh, these are the absolute standards whereby all the other candidates fit, and you as a candidate do not. No. It's arbitrary. Here's what the problem is, folks. And I've been hearing it all of my life in my involvement in politics. Keep God out of the picture. People don't want to hear that. I've been hearing that throughout my career. I heard it the first time I was doing secular radio. Yeah, you mentioned God too much. And I've heard it when I ran for office. You don't bring up God. You know, the top advisors, the people in the know. But that's what America needs. He is who America needs. America needs God. So, let me say another thing that I hope you will not forget, because it is the absolute, unequivocal truth. I am the most conservative candidate in this race. Let me say that one again. I am the most conservative candidate in this race. I'm more conservative than Donald Trump. And no disrespect to Donald Trump, man, because I supported Donald Trump, but I'm more conservative than Donald Trump. Because I'm not meeting with the Log Cabin Club. And I'm not going to, I mean, I want to put Fauci in jail. And folks, you all know my 4 constitutional amendments. Has anybody else proposed these? Number 1, a constitutional amendment that defines life and personhood at conception, which forever ends the debate. Now, that baby, from the moment of conception, is entitled to the protection of the state and cannot be killed willy-nilly on the basis of, well, but you believe that, but I don't believe that. I don't care what you believe. This is a matter of truth. Because if that child, when first conceived, is not a human being, then there was a time in your development when you were not a human being, and I was not a human being. Well, then what were we? Tadpoles? Of course we were human beings. We were human beings at various stages of development. Period. End of discussion. But we were always human beings. And the Bible confirms that, because the Bible makes clear that God said, I knew you when you were being formed in your mother's womb. I knew you. And that word know in the Bible means God saying, I actually had a relationship with you. I actually communicated with you. I actually was intimate with you from the moment of your conception. Well, let's face it, part of the problem is we don't believe that the culture, particularly the whole leftist democrat machine, is basically trying to convince people that we are not made in the image and likeness of God, that we're just evolutionary blobs that got lucky. A random selection, a natural mutation, and we hit the evolutionary lottery, and poof, out comes a human being. Well, wow, that's weird, but you know, that's what luck produces. And your life is nothing more than the life of an ant. You live, you die, you're gone. That's that. That's the way they view the world, which means why they can make up whatever they want. Number one. Oh, I'm going to take 5 more minutes and then I'm done. So number one, a constitutional amendment that defines life and personhood at conception. Number two, a constitutional amendment that defines gender as only 2 categories, male and female, period. And but you realize that would kill all these harassments and lawsuits and state laws and stuff. You've got to use the right pronoun, and you can't, oh, give me a break. I mean, all this stuff is a violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, all of it. So that's number two. Number three, define marriage, a constitutional amendment that defines marriage as only a union between one man and one woman. That's all it's ever been. And this perversion of trying to make marriage between 2 men and 2 women is an abomination before God. It's a violation of natural law, and it is a violation of the lessons of human history. And these extreme sexual perverts who have done this to our culture are now trying to push it on our children, and everybody's all shocked. Oh, where did that come from? Well, where do you think it came from? It came from you pandering to it from the very beginning. And you thought that once you knocked down the standards, you allowed the standards that God set to be knocked down, you thought that, well, the other standards will hold. No, they won't. Don't you know pedophilia is coming if we don't put a stop to this mess? Because if a child can make a decision at an early age, a prepubescent age, to change its gender as if that were possible, why can't a child make a decision to have sex with an adult? I mean, after all, they're sentient beings, aren't they? They're sentient enough to be able to make a life-changing decision that will affect them for the rest of their lives. I mean, you can't tell me that in light of that somehow they can't make a decision to have sex. The LGBT movement is nothing but an SPCG movement. It's the sexual perversion, child grooming movement. How many candidates you think will tell you that? And that's what the Republican Party doesn't want to hear, and that's what a lot of conservative outlets don't want to hear. But it's the truth. You know it and I know it. What normal adult wants to talk to a 3, 4, 5-year-old about sexuality? And what normal adult is willing to tell a parent, shut up, sit down, you don't know enough, I'm an expert, I know what I'm doing, you parents are too stupid to know, I'll do this, and we're going to keep it a secret from you, and I'm going to teach your child to lie to you about it. Now, what normal adult with even a modicum of integrity wants to do that? Perverts and nascent predators want to do that. And here's the fourth. I would put an end to anchor babies. The 14th Amendment was intended to give my ancestor citizenship, my African ancestor citizenship. I would propose a constitutional amendment that says you are not an American citizen, even though you're born on American soil, unless you have at least one biological parent who is also an American citizen. And if you do not, the fact that the Chinese sent your mother here to have you while you were on American soil, or the fact that some illegal immigrant crossed the border and brought a pregnant woman here so she could have a baby to anchor them into our culture, you and the baby are leaving. No disrespect or ill will of any kind intended toward anybody, and certainly not toward the baby, but you have violated our laws and our sovereignty, and we're not going to let you use the 14th Amendment, the illustrious 14th Amendment, to commit a crime and to commit a fraud against our country. And since the courts aren't going to do anything about it because of the wording of the 14th Amendment, then the people have to do something about it with the Constitutional Amendment. Folks, I am the most conservative candidate in this race. And my campaign is centered around a single theme: America must return to God. We must return to our Judeo-Christian values and principles. We must return to the idea that our rights and our liberties come from God, and therefore we are all ultimately accountable to Him. The idea that therefore government must be limited in order not to try to become God and to leave us with the maximum human liberty possible in a fallen world. That's the essence of my campaign right there. I am the most conservative candidate in the race, and Ronna McDaniel is not conservative at all. She's just a rhino Republican, and she, and now apparently Fox News and others, just don't want my voice to be heard. They just don't. But you know what? They're not going to shut me up. Go to my website, ewjacksonforpresident.com. Please give $20.24 or whatever you can give to help me get on the next debate stage, because I'm planning to be on the debate stage on September the 27th. We're going to shock the world. They don't want me there, but I'm going to be there. Okay? Look, if you give $1, you're helping me. 2020 vision, 2020 pathway to victory. Pray for me, please. 20 minutes a week, 3 minutes a day. Just include me in your prayer time. Give $20.24 as often as you can, and talk to 20 people or as many as you can. ewjacksonforpresident.com. Don't forget to get a copy of my book, either as a Patriot Partner for Stand, Staying True to America's National Destiny, or you can buy it wherever books are sold, or for 15% with a 15% discount. You can get it at my publisher's website, faithfultext.com. All right, folks, stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side.